Hello, I'm Frank Buckles. I'm the North Langley Director for the Greater Langley Chamber of Commerce. Our chamber, as it has done in other elections, is doing a series of candidate videos with candidates for the upcoming federal election in our two local ridings. With me is Stacey Wakelin. Stacey is running for the NDP in Langley Aldergrove. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for office in this election.
Absolutely. I chose to run in this election because I feel that there are many important issues facing Canadians, facing Langley Aldergrove residents. Two very important to me would be addressing climate change and healthcare and how those impact everyone, including obviously the residents of our community. I was a owner of a small business in Langley with my family, and currently have been fortunate enough to step aside to focus more on my community volunteer roles. And I'm also a mom. We are raising our family here in Willoughby and have lived here since 2005.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got a few questions, mainly from a business perspective, but they also are questions of interest to people throughout the community.
Absolutely.
First one is a little more specifically business, about small business and taxation. The federal government in the last few years introduced a series of fairly sweeping small business taxation changes, and the chamber and some other organizations were very concerned about those and had meetings with MPs across the country, and the federal government changed a number of those things. Where do you see small business taxation? What is the best way to approach that issue?
Well, I am going to be 100% honest here. My family has been, as I said, they own a small business here in Langley. It is definitely a challenging role to have these days. And I recognize that small businesses, in my mind, are the backbone of every community. We employ several people at our family-owned business. It's not easy. I know from a party platform, the NDP has focused on larger corporations, and this is an area that I definitely, thanks to today, will go home and examine further. Aside from I'm an NDP candidate, I'm also a big proponent for listening to the needs of those we are elected to serve. And if I am elected, I would definitely take all concerns seriously.
Thank you. Another issue of great interest to people throughout the Lower Mainland and to the business community is the issue of housing. The federal government has introduced a national housing strategy. You and I actually took part in a forum last weekend.
That's right.
Housing, in particular to seniors housing. And we are concerned as an organization, our members are concerned about housing affordability, about the ability to construct rental units, to keep rents down. What is your party going to do in that area?
That is an area that we definitely believe there needs to be increased investment in. I know just from a personal perspective, we have, like I said, at our family's business, we have one of our employees currently moving out to Chilliwack because they simply cannot afford to buy a home here. So that does impact, it impacts our business, it impacts people's quality of life. They now have to travel so much farther. Definitely investment, making it a priority. It is, and I've said this a million times, thinking outside the box. We have to work with, all levels of government have to see this as a crisis, and the funds need to get to where they need to be, and it has to be made a priority. And I don't feel there has been some movement forward in that regard, but I have people come up to me all the time asking me if I know of affordable rentals for them. And so it's still, I don't think we're there yet. And it comes down to money, it comes down to political will.
And something we hear from some of our members, particularly realtors, is how the stress test has affected the ability of younger people to actually qualify for a mortgage and buy a house. Is that something you'd like to take a further look at?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we have to look at it holistically, I guess. We have to, it just has to be a priority, and we have to look at why people cannot get into the market. We also have to acknowledge that not everyone wants to purchase a home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that as society changes, we're seeing young people. I know I've talked to many millennials, and that's just not something that's a priority for them. Renting is just fine.
But there needs to be a housing supply.
Absolutely.
Okay, you mentioned a very nice segue into my next question. One of your employees is moving to Chilliwack.
Yes.
We have great concerns about Highway 1 and the constant bottlenecks. There has been a real slow move to improve it. Do you think the federal government needs to take a lead to supply more money to widen it further east? And also, on the same topic, and this is a very hot topic in Langley, we're not going to get SkyTrain to Langley unless we get a major contribution from the federal government. So if you could address those issues.
Absolutely. This is a big topic for me. It touches on many things that I firmly believe in and I care about. Widening the highway is great. You know, there are a lot of schools of thought that the more we widen it, the more cars get on the highway. I think this is an issue of transportation. We need to change the way we're moving people around our communities. That means investing in transportation. There is the Cure Congestion campaign that TransLink is doing right now. I agree with that. I agree that we need to, the federal government, historically, funding for transportation has been a bit precarious. So I 100% agree with protected funding for transportation. If you care about climate change, we need to start, like I said, changing the way we're moving people. So that means making buses work for people. Right now, especially in Langley Aldergrove, we don't have the bus service that people can count on. And it's one of those catch-22 where, you know, unless it's accessible, it's efficient, people won't use it, and we won't see the funding for it. I could not state enough that as a party, the NDP has committed to setting up a fund that addresses this issue.
Great. One final quick question. Do you support the expansion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Stacey.
you. Thank you.